Hello and welcome to the Practice Marketing Podcast, highlighting successful strategies from North America's fastest growing clinics and experts so you can learn from their wins and power your practice growth. I'm your host, Neil Trickett, CEO of Practice Promotions, and today we're going to talk about when is it the right time to rebrand your PT practice and some lessons from an awesome physical therapy owner. And today we're talking with Andy Sotirokos, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Full Strength Physical Therapy, formerly Solutions Physical Therapy. And Andy is a doctor of PT, board certified orthopedic clinical specialist, and an experienced practice owner who has spent years helping patients move better while building a thriving private practice. He's also been with Practice Promotions as a client since 2017, so super excited in his growth and what he's been able to accomplish. And one of the biggest decisions Andy made along the way was rebranding his clinic from Solutions Physical Therapy to Full Strength Physical Therapy. And in this episode, he'll share with us why he made that change, what he learned throughout the process, and whether the rebrand ultimately helped his position in his practice and set him up for future growth. So Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Neil. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about you and your practice. Love for our audience to know a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, so our practice was around since 2009. My wife and I own and run the practice, and we started off with one location, and over time we're able to grow to three, and we have three locations. We're in Alexandria, Arlington, and Springfield, Virginia, and we have 25 providers, and we're looking to continue to grow the practice and create more opportunities for our team and help the people in our communities that we live in and work with every day. So that's the big driver for us is, we want to try to provide those team opportunities and help people out.
That's awesome. And so I think you said you're up to like 24, 25 staff now. Is that correct?
Yeah, 25 providers on staff now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been so great to see your growth and the hard work that you've put into that and your ability to run. I always thought you had a great business mindset, marketing mindset, especially too. Just helping yourself position yourself in that very competitive area around Washington, D.C. Obviously, kind of Northern Virginia is very, very competitive. But the things that you did at that time to really separate yourself has been fantastic to see. And then obviously now going through the rebranding, that's really been powerful. It's fantastic to see that growth too. So what led you to consider, okay, we've got to rebrand here. We got to kind of reboot who we are as a practice. And so kind of just help us understand, and for other practice owners out there too, that kind of thinking through this, like, hey, should I think about a different rebrand for my practice? Like, what was your thought process about going into that?
It was definitely evolution. I think, we had been thinking about trying, hey, should we change the name for a couple of years? There was some confusion as we started to grow from our one location, as we expanded into Springfield and then into Shirlington, and we started to get a bit more aggressive with our marketing as we grew. There was some confusion at times between our company and another company with a similar name in the market. And so I think we had kind of toyed around with, hey, should we change this name? And then as we started to grow and get more into really trying to understanding what our company's core purpose was and develop our team to prepare for more growth. And really we spent probably about the past year and a half, 2 years kind of taking a deep dive into the type of culture that we wanted to have and the why of our company. And, when we combined the kind of some of the confusion around the name that we were having, and then really trying to up our game in terms of building our culture and moving forward as a company to the next stage of our existence, really, it kind of became clear, hey, this is something that we've got to do at this point to kind of take us to the next level. Mm-hmm. And so when we did that, our name, Solutions Physical Therapy, everybody's got, lots of companies have solutions in their name, and it's kind of felt like more of a legacy kind of early 2000s, brand. And as we grew, we wanted to really think about having a more consumer grade brand that resonated more with what the purpose of the company was. And so that was how we kind of got to the point of this deciding that we needed to make this move, and it kind of influenced where we went with the rebrand and the name change and everything too.
That's really cool. And so did you look at it too so you went from Solutions Physical Therapy, which is kind of broad, generic, right? Kind of hits all medical and orthopedic and things like that, to Full Strength Physical Therapy, right? So more of that consumer facing, like people want to get back to full strength, right? Or they want to be at like stronger and more physical. Was that
Yeah,
part of it?
exactly. We went through a whole naming process, right? So it I kind of spent about a year and a half trying to come up with some different names using ChatGPT and some other AI tools to try to help me get through the process a little bit. And then it was probably January of last year, January 25, I think, that I came across this one, and I ran it by my wife, and she said, "Well, it's better than anything else you've come up with so far." And so that was kind of the first thing that told me I maybe had something here, right? And then the internet address happened to be available too, which is one of the big things when you look for renaming. Like, you've got to have ability to get the website, right?
Yeah.
And that was available, so I bought it just so I had it just in case. And then, but I wanted to make sure we went through a very professional process when we did it. So we hired a branding agency, went through a whole naming process with them, and I didn't tell anyone else the name that I had come up with. And so we came up with the names through the branding agency, a list of names that we thought we liked, and I threw mine in at the last minute. And I said, "Here's the one." And honestly, there was a lot of debate. Not everyone was really wild about what we come up with through the branding agency, and they did a phenomenal job. It was not a knock on them at all. And everybody really kind of liked the one that I come up with, which was Full Strength at the time. And I think for the reasons that you said, it's exactly why that works, right? Our company's purpose is to empower people to live their lives at full strength. And so, if that's your purpose, and that can be your name at the same time, like,
Yeah.
it just seemed very powerful to us as a team that that's the direction that we needed to go for. And it just creates a lot of alignment as a company now. Like, there's no confusion. Like, solutions physical therapy, like, yeah, you have lots of solutions, or Full Strength physical therapy. Every day I know what my purpose is, right? It's in the name, it's on my shirt, it's on everything, why we're here and doing this. So that's what my goal's got to be, right?
Yeah. And
So
I love the way
that's why we really liked it.
Oh, that, yeah, and I like the way that you really approach that too, which is you got to be thoughtful, methodical. You really got to evaluate, research. It's not something that you just go haphazardly into and we're just going to rename, right? I think there has to be a lot of thought and decision making behind it, and you obviously did your work towards it, and investment towards that too, hiring a professional rebranding company and kind of walking through that whole process there to do that. And I'm curious because part of rebranding a business, right, especially for our physical therapy business, we're thinking about our audience, we're thinking about our purpose and our vision of our business and where we're trying to go. I'm curious, where Solutions had started and where it had evolved to. Did you start to serve more and more of the athletic audience out there, the public, and kind of more sports performance, and kind of go in that direction? Was that part of the rebranding thought process too, like trying to capitalize on that?
Not so much. I think we've always had a segment of the bit. We've always been a good mix of orthopedic, general outpatient orthopedic physical therapy, and some return to sports patients, right? Some high school athletes. We did, I think, wanted to solidify that a little bit more, and make sure that we kept that. But it wasn't we didn't make the name change because we said, hey, we're going to make a big push into sports performance and sports rehab. We wanted to solidify our presence there, and so that was a kind of a background thing that we want to make sure that our new name kind of helped us with that. But I think the bigger thing is, if you look at trends in healthcare and in health in particular, I think we are at a point now where physical therapy is really at a key crossroads where we have a huge opportunity with people that now want to be more proactive in their health, right? The expectation for a lot of people, particularly in higher income markets like we're in right now, but I think expanding throughout the country slowly, is that, I want to live at full strength, right? Like, I don't want to just make it to 90 or 95. There's a lot of that whole longevity market is out there now where people want to make it to 90 and 95, but live like they're still 60, right?
Yeah.
How much of that is realistic or not is debatable, but the goal is moving in that direction. And so I think that's something that I'm pretty passionate about. I have parents that are 70, in the 70s now, and I'm trying to help them. My dad's 70, he's outside playing basketball with my kids right now. I think that's where I want to be at, right? When I'm 70, maybe hopefully being a little little bit better still than where he's at right now. But, you know, that's what they want. And I know my mom in particular was, you know, going around her physical therapy for her knee. And, you know, at one point she was saying, hey, you know, I need to be pushed harder, right? Because she was ready to quit because she didn't think she was just kind of doing the same exercise over and over again. She lives up in Pennsylvania. And I was talking with her and said, well, are you doing this? You're doing that. And so then she asked her therapist about those things. And then I think, you know, the light bulb kind of clicked on there. And it's like, and to his credit, you know, he realized that this was someone that was different. You know, that area hasn't, in particular, is not the same area we're here in Northern Virginia, where the expectation is, you know, I want to be 60 and running marathons, or 70 and, you know, doing a lot of cycling and staying really active. There's a little bit of a different mindset culturally in Western PA, you know, where my parents live, in terms of what to expect with aging. They're not really pushing that boundaries as much as people in more urban areas are. But that's kind of where we wanted to go. It's like, hey, that's the mindset that I want to have for our therapists and our patients as we grow.
Love it. I would say that's exactly, you know, if you're thinking about rebranding, if you're kind of thinking about where you want your practice to go, like, it's all about your audience. It's all about your customer, right? And so you know, in like Northern Virginia, very heavily populated area, very, you know, affluent areas of the country too. And so we have, in the next 4 years, the health and wellness industry is going to reach $3 trillion. It's just growing and growing and growing. Like you said, people want to invest in their health. They want to live longer, but live healthier, right? They want to move their bodies more. And there's so much investment by the public in that. So we have an incredible opportunity in physical therapy to serve that industry, to serve that market. And we've got to go beyond where we were, you know, a decade ago, which was to be more just general outpatient or recovery. Your physician gives you a referral and there you go, do some PT and you're done. Like, we have to go beyond that model. And many people like you are at the forefront now of going beyond that and making the practice into this evolution, right? This hybrid model of PT, you know, insurance, cash-based, health and wellness. We've got to do that, right? And I think the more I see clinics you know, embrace that and serve their public and their communities and their audience in that level, the more successful they are. And so I think clinics that are stuck in that older model, they're struggling, right? They're continuing, like it's harder to attract talent that wants to work in those kind of facilities. It's harder to obviously be profitable because you're so heavily reliant on insurance companies and you're not having these adjacent programs that you can have in your practice. So you have to evolve your business and your practice to the times and take advantage of these huge opportunities that you have in the market, because someone else is going to take advantage of it if you aren't. So I think part of looking at that is, if you do have that older model in your business, maybe it's the naming, maybe it's the look, the feel, your marketing, everything that's there. Like, that could be a great opportunity with the rebranding. And I think seeing what you've done with your rebrand really has gone in that direction to capitalize on that market. So, you know, kudos to you for doing that. It's been fantastic to see. Just kind of curious, you know, rebranding takes a lot of research work. It's also, it's a risk, right? You're changing your name and all that stuff. So how did you address that risk or concerns, maybe from the team also, in terms of rebranding the practice?
Yeah, well, I think I definitely did my homework first in terms of, you know, I talked with a couple of couple of practice owners that I knew who had gone through the process, just to kind of see, you know, why they did it and you know, get a sense for what to expect, right? And I think it was definitely one of the best decisions I made was to talk to them first, right? And then I also ultimately got some recommendations for some other companies to look at and speak to from a branding agency standpoint. But that was the biggest thing, is like, I wanted to make sure that I had gotten some personal experience from other people. So I kind of knew what I didn't know, because in this area in particular was something there was a lot of things that I didn't know, right, going into it. And so having some background that way was helpful. And then communicating to the team, you know, we started the process, and honestly, I can't remember when we communicated. Our leadership team, our clinic directors, and our administrative manager, and our marketing team knew earlier on in the process that we were doing it. And then probably, I think it was in August of 25 that we really communicated to the full team what was going on in the background. I could be wrong on that. It might have been a little bit earlier than that, but not a ton. Just so everyone knew what the process, that this was happening, and the why behind it. And I think that was important.
Yeah.
And then it set the stage for whenever we actually did kind of the brand reveal to the full team. And it made it, easy, I think, to communicate at that point, and more of an exciting thing for them versus a scary thing for them. That was the big goal that we had, was like, we want this to be something that generates a lot of excitement for the team.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to accelerate and generate a lot of momentum for us as a company. And so we wanted to create that energetic vibe for the team as well, so that they were excited about what we're doing.
I love that. I'm curious if the way that you structured the reveal to the team, and probably starting with the leaders first and then go through it. Because, I mean, one of the things, you can get a lot of input from different people and different ideas, and they may not all align. So how did you navigate that, right? With people like, oh, I don't like that, or I don't like this, and I'm just kind of curious how that went.
Yeah, I think the key thing is always keeping in mind, like Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind, right? Like, know where you want to finish and what you want the vision to be. And then we took input for sure, right? But at the end of the day, it was Christina and I's decision. It was our decision on what the final say was. But I also really valued the input. A lot of these people had worked for us for years, right? So they understood what was happening in the clinic on a daily basis. So they understood how we wanted care to be provided. They understood the emotion that we wanted people to experience when they were inside our clinics, but also whenever they were just seeing our name out on the street, right? And so I think we were fortunate that we had a good team that was aligned pretty strongly about where we wanted to go, and I think that was super helpful too, having that internal alignment. We had some disagreements here and there, for sure, about things, but then at a certain point, as a leader, we got to pick a path and go with it, and then everybody really got on board once we did that.
Awesome. And so there's the marketing component, right? The PR, the rebrand itself, right? And then all the marketing stuff that has to happen from that. I'm curious too, did you also have to impact any insurance contracts or any kind of like financial stuff? Was that part of changing the name too?
Yeah, so we did have to do that. So we just we had to make sure that all the payers were aware of the name change. What we did too is we didn't change the legal name. So our legal name is still Solutions Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. Okay. But our doing business as name is Full Strength Physical Therapy. So some things we did have to change, some things we didn't. Sometimes just depended on attorney preference in some situations, to be honest. But with the payers, we definitely changed the name because we want to make sure that we were on the payer lists as Full Strength Physical Therapy, so there was no confusion there. Yeah. So we definitely made those changes with all of the payers, and it really wasn't that hard. You just had to go to their hop on Picos, hop on all the payer websites and make those changes. And generally speaking, it went smoothly. There were some issues with some difficulty with United Health at times, where they were telling people we were out of network, and they told us that we weren't. They would tell patients that we were out of network, but they told us that we were in network, and so their systems weren't talking together well. Yeah. So I'm sure you can imagine that happened.
Problems with United Healthcare? What?
Yeah, right.
I mean, come on.
The top 10% of PT owners aren't just surviving, they're thriving. But what's their secret? Well, Neil Trickett's new Market to Grow book reveals how the top 10% of PT practices leverage marketing systems to simultaneously grow their new patients, attract top talent, and boost profit in their practice. You can learn from their secrets. Visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free copy of Market to Grow. Yes, you heard that right. We are shipping a free copy of Market to Grow to all podcast listeners who want it. Just visit practicepromotions.net/book to claim your free book. And now back to the show.
So you went through this whole process, right? And obviously the rebranding of website, rebranding of value marketing. Kind of curious, with the launch of the new brand, what's the impact been like on the practice? Did it affect? How like patient perception, referrals, marketing performance, team culture? Like, can you kind of walk us through that, the impact of it?
Yeah, in terms of patients' response, it's been really, really positive. There were a few patients that have been with us for years and years and years that were just kind of missed the old name, I guess, a little bit. But they've all kind of gotten on board now with it, and overwhelmingly the response has really been positive. And people get it too, right? Like, and most people got it. They're like, one person I was working with actually said, we told her the name. She said, "I like it. The goal is the name." I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what we're going for, right?" So that was really positive. The team, a lot of energy around it. The team response was really positive too. It just feels more modern and more up to date than what the old name did. I think that's a lot of it right there. But then it also is something that we can kind of reinforce. Again, our purpose as we're on a daily basis, really, because it's built into the name. So the response is overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing that I think you've done very well over the years, and I think this is part of your success too, is really your investment in the look and feel of your brand, right? From your website to your marketing materials. You do a lot too with making sure that you get great photography, videography within the clinic, and you promote that out there. And you can definitely see that through the website. So for our audience out there, if you go to fullstrengthpt.com, you can see Andy's website there. And it's really cool how you really brought in telling the story through the clinic through imagery, right? And using that within that. And so just kind of curious for you, like, how important has that been for you in your practice? And what would you say to another practice owner there that doesn't really do a lot with getting photography within the clinic?
Yeah, I think we made a very concerted effort on to improve with this. I think we felt like our old brand had gotten stale from a photography standpoint, color standpoint, name standpoint, the whole thing. So getting professional photography to go with the website remake for the rebrand was important for us. And then the types of imagery that we got to kind of show what we want to convey, that purpose, I think, was really important too. And then getting a diversity of ages and ethnicities and those types of things were important for us to really reflect our customer base.
Yeah.
So it's really important, I think, and we're going to probably switch up what we had done. I think do that again on a more regular basis as well, just to keep things fresh. I think that's something that we're actually planning right now a little bit of for how often we're going to do those kind of updates from a photography standpoint. So yeah, I think it's super important to keep that momentum there. And I think branding in particular is something that I've paid a lot more attention to, I think, over the past 2 years, in terms of, again, when we started thinking about the name, like, what is that emotion, right? The brand, you think about the great brands, the brands create an emotion in the customer, right? And that's what we want to try to do, is really pay attention to what is the emotion that we're creating to create that connection with our customer going forward.
Yeah, so it's not just a name, it's not just a picture, it's not just a logo. I mean, we have this misconception all the time that, I'm going to rebrand, I'm just going to create a new logo and maybe a new name, right? And that's not it, right? That's not your brand. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Yeah.
Right. So like you said, that emotion, what is it telling them? What do they think about when they hear your name or see your site, right? That's the big part of it. So there's a big thought process through that, and just the way that you've told us, like the research that you put into that and the effort that you put into that, like there's a lot that goes into that whole process, so that the marketing part, right? The things that you're creating, like the pictures that you're going to get, the video that you're going to get, the font that you're going to use, the colors that you're going to use, the logo that you're going to use, like that's just the mechanics, right? But like you said, what's the underlying why, and what are you trying to accomplish emotionally in your audience, or who you're trying to serve in your audience? And so if you're going after, sports performance, athletes, active adults, like the colors, the looks, the feels, how you say it, the fonts, like that has to spark that emotion of being competitive, wanting to get back to full strength, being the best that you can be, right? If you're a women's health clinic, it's going to be very different imagery, colors, soothing, confidence, femininity. Like that's part of like women's health clinics, pediatric clinics. It's going to be fun, vibrant colors. It's going to be imagery of kids having fun. Like, so you got to really know who you're trying to serve. And then everything else has to align to create that emotion, like you're saying, from all your marketing, right?
Yeah, and our the agency that we worked with, Rugged is the name of the company. They did a great job with our really bringing that to life in terms of once we kind of picked the name, creating a great logo, great brand guidelines from a color scheme and how the photography should look and all of those types of things. So it was really a really good investment to do something very professional like that when we did it. Because now we kind of piecemealed things a little bit before, but now we've got a very cohesive brand guidelines template that we can use to apply to in new locations, print, email, social media, all those types of things.
Yeah. What was the name of the company, Andy?
Rugged is the name of it.
Rugged. Okay. Yeah. So, and I think this is like an important point here that maybe you can speak to, Andy, also is like, you've grown your business, and I think you've done something very smart here, which is that knowing that you're not the expert in branding, right? And you're not the expert in digital marketing and SEO and all this stuff, right? Like you're a great business owner, practice owner. You know how to get people better. You know how to lead other people to get people better. But this is something that I've learned a lot too as I've grown in business, is that you seek advice from specialists and experts to help strengthen what you can offer in your business. And so going through this rebranding process, to me, you did a very smart thing, which is that you looked for external help to guide you in this elaborate process of rebranding your business, right? And so, and then obviously we help you from the website creation and the SEO, the Google ads, the analytics and the tracking, like all this kind of stuff too. So just kind of speaking to that a little bit, because we do see practice owners that try to do everything themselves, or they just maybe have a marketing director that tries to do everything themselves in clinic, and they see they hold themselves back because they don't get that expert help because they try to DIY stuff too much themselves.
Yeah, I made that mistake a lot. So, I try to learn from those mistakes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But for something like this was going to be a huge deal, right? Like this was a make or break moment. This wasn't amateur hour, right? So this was the situation where I knew it was going to be an investment and it was going to be expensive. But there's a time to do it yourself and a time to bring in professional help. And this was the time to bring in the professionals. Changing the name, doing the rebrand. This is something that's going to affect us. We're setting the stage for the next 10 years. Yeah. So now's the time to definitely bring in some professional help to help us with that. Yeah. And we also hired a fractional CMO to help basically manage the project for us, which was great. She did an outstanding job because she had gone through the process before, right? So she knew things that I didn't know. That when you're working with a branding agency, that was a great resource for me. That I probably would have made some mistakes. And Rugged did a great job. So through no fault of their own, but just mistakes that I would have made just by not having the knowledge that she had, right? Yeah. So that combination for us was super helpful.
So smart. Yeah, and I mean, I absolutely love it when practice owners have a CMO, like a fractional CMO, or they have a marketing director in the clinic, or they have a branding company that they want us to work with. And so, because we're bringing our expertise, right, and obviously the website builds, the SEO, the digital marketing, and all that kind of stuff there. But you do need that decision process and guidance from those specialists, right? And like you said, this is a large change for your practice, a large investment. So I think for practices out there, just realize that it's okay to get help, right? In taking your clinic to that next level, you need guidance, right? You need experts to help you with that. Just kind of curious too, like obviously working through that whole process, obviously having your fractional CMO, having the branding company there. How did that work with us in rebuilding your website?
Yeah, so it was great. So, working with Practice Promotions and Shelly in particular, I think was our main point of contact. we had a very Rugged had developed for us a very cool looking template for a website. And so we were able to really work with your team and Shelly to help us get that, bring that vision to life through practice promotions. And, there was a lot of, back and forth in trying to get things right. And the effort that your team put into making sure we got things right to the vision that we wanted was really helpful. And I think they did a lot of work with us to customize the site to what we wanted and what our expectations were.
Love it, love it. And I mean, we've gone through together a few different redevelopments of your sites over the years, and probably like every 3 or 4 years, something like that we've done it, right?
Yeah, I think this is the third third revamp that we've done. And this was obviously the biggest for obvious reasons, but it was good.
So that's one of the key things too for our audience out there is that your website is like a key part of your business. It's your digital storefront, right? And so just like if you had with your physical storefront, it ages, right? And you need to redevelop your storefront every so often. And especially in the digital world, things just evolve. The market changes, like what you're doing with your business, who you're trying to serve, like all of that evolves and changes over time. But especially in the digital world, the platforms change so fast. The way that AI is scraping websites now, the way that Google is scraping websites, that just evolves and changes so rapidly. Like every month there's something different. So if your website is more than 3 years old, it's like operating off an iPhone 8 versus an iPhone 17. And just think about that. So it is really critical that you do consider the redevelopment of your digital storefront, your website, about every 3 years. It's a good practice to do. It gets you up to the latest coding and necessities for online softwares, how people interact through their phones on your website. All those kind of things are impacted by the age of your website. So it's something that's dynamic. It's something that needs to change. It's not just something you put up. And going through a rebrand, of course, is a critical time for updates in the website. But even if you're keeping your same name, the redevelopment of your site is a good opportunity for the latest coding, but also an opportunity for you to refresh who you are. Like, where are you at now, 3 or 4 years later, than when you had that website, built or redeveloped at that time. So I think it's a great, thing for you to think of in continually moving your business forward and the brand of your business moving forward.
I think one of the other things too is making sure like it's never really done, right? Like we're always looking at what do we need to update? What should we be improving with it?
Yeah.
And I can probably make a list of 5 things that I want to change right now. Not because and that's just because like there are things that, hey, we could make this better, right? And so I think it should be a living kind of document, not like this static thing that, hey, we're done and we're not going to touch it again for 3 years.
Yeah.
And that is helpful too, I think.
That's absolutely 100% correct. It's a living thing, right? And it's a reflection, it's a direct representation of what is happening in your business, in your practice, right? Because you come up with adjustments to your programs. Obviously, your new therapists are coming on board or they're going. The way that you have new certifications or things that you're doing, or if you add a location, right? Or you change spots, things like that are always evolving, changing within your business. So your website should reflect that too, right? And that's why I think it's super important that at least once a year, you have professional photography come in so you can get updated imagery to reflect what's new in the practice, how you're changing and your business is evolving always, how you reflecting that within your website, within your marketing, within your social media. So it's very, very critical to have that updated imagery. And I know that you've done a great job with that over the years. And so kind of just switching gears here a little bit, as part of also what you've done for a long time and then kind of going into full strength physical therapy. I know that you've done Google Ads as part of your marketing strategy. So just kind of curious, what was your decision process into investing in Google Ads and kind of like what you've seen the impact of that over time?
Well, Neil, we started with you on Google Ads back in COVID, actually. I think it was summer of 2020 that we started Google Ads. And so obviously at that point in time, everybody's trying to bring business back, right? And so Google Ads was a huge factor for us and super helpful for us in regaining and coming back from COVID. And then we've always maintained that ever since as a key part of our strategy. And when we got to rebrand now, one of the things the pieces of feedback I got from from practice owners who had done the rebrand was different strategies to try to avoid the dip. Everyone I talked to saw a dip in their new patient volume in the months after the rebrand. And so we were trying to say, how can we mitigate that? And we were prepared for a decrease in new patients to come for a couple months if necessary as part of that rebrand. We wanted to minimize that. And so making sure that we increased our Google ad budget was one of the big things that we looked at, and making sure that we did kind of we really, I think we started the increase the week the week of go live for the rebrand was when we really ramped up that Google ad budget, so that we timed our name change with the website change and the Google ad push, because we were really worried about the SEO drop. And then when people search for us, not being able to find us. So we did a couple things. We are now, I think our Google logo still says full strength physical therapy, formerly solutions physical therapy and sports medicine. So we made sure that we try to drive the connection there. Our Google ads made that connection as well. And those were two of the things that we did to help make sure that we didn't drop. We obviously messaged it through direct mail, through fax, actually, to physician referral sources. We messaged it via email to our email list, social media. So we hit pretty much every channel that we could. Google Ads is a very important piece of that, though. And we saw, what we actually saw was we actually did not take a hit at all in terms of our new patients actually grew after the rebrand.
Nice.
Our local SEO actually improved after the rebrand. Our organic SEO took a hit. But again, part of the Google ad growth was to get that name up, to keep that name in front of people while your organic SEO was kind of recovering.
Yeah.
And so it was a big part of our strategy to do that. And it was successful. Clearly, we saw no drop off in new patients. It actually grew our new patient volume.
Well done. Well done. I mean, that's just so perfect, right? I mean, when you go through a rebrand, sometimes that's not considered that well as the impact of the rebrand. We think, oh, well, we're going to pull in this new audience. We're going to do this. That's a long-term thing that will happen, right, from the rebrand. But there's a short-term change, right? There's a short-term pain that happens. And like you said, like you heard that there's a natural dip that's going to come because people don't know the new name. And you got to try to obviously get that new name in front of them as fast as you can and get them to connect. And that takes some repetition. So you did the right thing, which is like, okay, we know that we're going to change the name. There's going to be this rebrand. There's going to be a dip, right? Because in Google's world, it is a new company almost. So you got to give it a little time to recover, get used to you. But you can supplement that with Google Ads, direct mail, social media, and like getting your name out there. So there is an initial investment to your rebranding, and that is that you just have to outflow a lot more temporarily to kind of offset that natural dip that's going to occur. It might take 2 or 3 months of a time frame, but it's part of that strategic planning ahead of the rebrand. Is like, okay, how are we going to mitigate and prevent this natural dip that will occur? And we need to offset that with more outflow. So kudos to you for a great job thinking about that and planning through it.
Thanks.
Awesome. And so just kind of curious, now that Full Strength Physical Therapy is rocking and rolling, kind of what's the future look like for you? What are some of your big goals for this year and next year?
Yeah, well, we just started construction today on a 4th location. More announcements come later by social media and email, but so we're pretty excited about that. And we want to continue to grow the company and provide more opportunities for our team and our and opportunities to help treat people in our community and help them live at full strength. Right, that's what we're all about. We've got a couple other team members right now that have expressed interest in continuing to grow into some leadership roles, and so we want to make sure that we have those opportunities for those people on our team that want to take that next step. And so growth is a big part of where we're going to go going forward.
I love it. I have no doubt that you're going to get there quickly. So it's really exciting to hear. And just kind of curious, obviously we've been working together for a long time here. How's Practice Promotions helped you in your practice over the years?
I think that you guys have been super, like we talked about, very responsive with helping us develop the website. And anytime we need to make edits, we always get great feedback from the team and responsiveness from your team as well. I really appreciate when you came to me back in 2020 with to mention, hey, we're going to start this Google Ads program. Would you like to try this out with us? And so that was huge. I really, again, appreciate you coming to me to be one of your test companies on that. But I think the key thing is trying to find someone that really can help you as a partner in your business. And I think Practice Promotions has really done a great job of that with us. And whenever we need something, on the Google Ads front, on SEO, website redevelopment, your team has always been there to help us out. So I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. Appreciate that. And so if our audience wants to connect with you, is it great for them to reach out through LinkedIn?
Yeah, totally. That's perfect.
Yeah. So it's Andrew Sotirokos with Full Strength Physical Therapy. Check him out on LinkedIn and go to fullstrengthpt.com. Check out their rebrand. It's amazing. They've done a fantastic job with it. Super exciting to see where they're at now. And I'm so excited to see where you're going to be in the future here as you get to full strength in your business. So Andy, thanks so much for being on the podcast with us and giving your expertise to us.
Thanks, Neil. I really appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And to our audience there, thank you so much for being on the Practice Marketing Podcast. Hope you got a lot out of today's conversation with Andy and Full Strength Physical Therapy. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast for more future episodes, as well as check out our YouTube channels where all these interviews live, as well as other useful tips. And of course, on practicepromotions.net, where we've got tons of useful marketing ideas and advice for you there that's completely free. So this is Neil Trickett from the Practice Marketing Podcast, wishing you much success in your practice.
A free way for you to support our show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It's a chance for you to tell us what you love about the show, and it helps others discover it as well. Just scroll down to ratings and review on your phone and click write a review. Thanks.